You're now listening to the Diversity Roundtable. I'm Pamela Xaba, entrepreneur, inclusion enthusiast, and the founder of Nonkosi Creatives with over 2 decades as a corporate HR professional. My goal is to give you insights into conversations with entrepreneurs and corporate professionals who have insightful stories of triumph and leadership. I uncover my personal journey from cultivating diversity and promoting inclusive communities. We'll also find out why building a prosperous society is vital for leadership roles. Subscribe and get ready to rise, lead, and help define the spirit of South African excellence. Good day. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. We are on episode 10 of the Diversity Roundtable. We are joined by my very good friend and colleague, Malisha Awunor. Welcome.
Thank you, Pam.
She is the group head of people and culture at EOH. Correct. I'm so excited to have you. I feel like we have come full circle.
We have,
right? Because I'm reminded last year around July, we launched this brand. And, we were one of the first people to raise your hand in support of what we're trying to do. And now we are in 2024, we are in the new year, we keep growing, we keep coming in. We are actually really attracting nice and wonderful people, and you continue to support us because you have so much to give and so much to say and so much to contribute in the field of human capital. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for showing up. So I think today's episode, I feel like it's a continuation of the discussion that I had in the previous episode with Dr. Flavilas Vrado from the University of Wollongong, where she was talking about the inclusion in work integrated learning, the implications for HR professionals. And here you are today with the episode, which is very similar to that. And I love what you will bring in the context of what we are going to discuss around the inclusive approaches in learning environments. So thank you so much. But before we get into the discussion, Mel, I'm so tempted to smile and laugh, but I think I need, because you're such an authentic human being. There's so much that you bring to the table, and just the contribution that you bring to the HR community in our country, given where we are as a community, given where we are as a society and as a people. So it's very important that we continue to raise the flag and raise our words, not even our voices, our words around DEIB. So thank you and welcome. But before we get into the discussion, just for our listeners, for our viewers, for our subscribers, for our HR community, and the people really that follow our show. Can you just tell us about yourself? It's a new year, it's a brand new year. Just reflect a bit, on what you got involved in last year, what you're excited about this year, what you see in the human capital space this year. So over to you.
Thank you. That's quite a setup, Pam. At the heart of it all, I'm just a mum working in a profession that allows me to try to change work environments so that the next generation coming in has it much better than what we had. And when I say that, it's broader than just diversity in the traditional sense in South Africa. I think the responsibility we have to create social impact is underestimated, because traditionally this functional area was viewed as personnel management, and if you want to upset me, call it personnel management. And I'm very deliberate about a title which is people and culture. Our people are not resources. And it's something I believe your words express and show itself up in the culture of your organizations. So in terms of who I am, I'm just a mom that's hustling really hard to make sure that one day when our daughters enter the workplace, they can be whatever they want to be without the hassle of being labeled, without being told, you cannot do this because you're a woman or because of your hair being curly. Those are the social constructs that I hope through being in our profession, we can fundamentally change the narrative around building authenticity so people can be their true selves.
Wow.
Nothing upsets me more than listening to youngsters say they have to code switch. Like, I had to take a while to understand what that even meant. And I think for me, it wasn't 2024, new year, new me.
Yes.
I don't do that kind of thing. I really don't, because
it's
I think...
It's amazing how we all jump into that work on New Year, New Me type of story. It's like, are you not the same person? Yeah.
Mine was a very reflective December. Last year was an incredibly hard year.
Yes.
And I think for me is the vulnerability in having a team where I could lean into.
Yes.
The power of a team that it's okay to not be okay. And more importantly, a team that managed to get accolades in a very difficult environment.
Yes.
And I'm not necessarily the type of person that likes awards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But each and every award that this business got last year in the People and Culture frame is testimony to the hard work of a team that I have, that hustle hard, that are driven by a purpose to solve, and more importantly, want to leave behind a legacy.
Yes.
So 2024, no new things for me.
Okay.
2024, it's about settling the business from a business perspective. 2024 personally for me is to do more of the things that set my soul on fire. I find often I say it and I don't practice it enough, which ends up being a disservice not just to myself, because it then impacts my family and my team members. So they have full authority to hold me to account. I believe that the whole construct of balance is a fallacy, because inevitably something gives, and it's about deciding what is it that's going to give today, because tomorrow it may be something else. And I think as women leaders, it's about not setting ourselves up for failure, right? Because we think, I've got to be a good this, I've got to be a good that, I've got to be a good... I call BS. Sorry for my language.
Under so much pressure. No, that's what I love about you. It's like, I couldn't have had a more authentic person in the studio today. So, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's it. Why set yourself up for failure? I actually spoke to someone yesterday who said, for the first time in her life, she got a bond. And a bond is over 20 years. But she wanted to do it in 3 years. And she was burning out at the rate that she was taking on new work. And then she realized, but the 3 years is a self-imposed target.
Exactly.
Why do we do that? Right?
Yes.
I think to show ourselves kindness, to show ourselves grace. And the importance of leaning in. It sounds so textbookish. But I physically said to my team, I'm not able to do this by myself. And if I'm leaning too heavily, you need to let me know. But we can only do this together. So 2024, I'm excited. Slightly terrified. But overall, having a daughter that's now in high school, a son in high school, it's to try to show up better for them as well.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much. I really like the concept of leaning in, because we tend to take on so much, to your point, that there's just so much more that we can do, if we involve other people more and more, and then it becomes the collective, right? So thank you so much for this. And I think really, let us then just talk about today's topic, inclusive approaches in learning environments. Why this topic for you? What is it that you really want to share with us today?
I think for me, it's the constructs around traditional methods of learning. And it's rooted in the way in which, what were we raised to believe learning is? Learning was a course that you go on, right? It's the types of examples used in learning methods. It is in the learning methods itself, which largely excludes people. And a person's competence is not necessarily driven by a standardized course that's available. So if you look at universal design, right, one of the key things is around representation. So if you're going to teach me Excel as an example, and I hate using Microsoft tools as an example, because I believe on-the-job learning is the best way. The construct around using cricket as an analogy, you've lost me. The example of using certain language, you lose me. And then when a person doesn't pass the course or the assessment, we assume that it's an indication of their intelligence. And that fundamentally is the problem that I have, is that we have adopted methods that sometimes have inherent bias and sometimes have social and structural exclusion that drive the outcomes, which actually leave learners behind. And when I say learners, I talk about all of us as people who learn every day.
Yeah.
So I think one is our ability to be able to adopt technology much better. I think a lot of businesses that did not use COVID to pivot into the different areas of tech to facilitate learning have actually done themselves a disservice. And I think for me is there is no perfect solution. So I'm not out here saying, it's all about sitting around a fire and singing Kumbaya. Not at all. It's about the material that we share, the purpose of the course that we have. Is it accessible? Not physically accessible, intellectually and mentally accessible to everybody that's around the table. So that's it's a pain point for me. I mean, a lot of us talk about 4IR, but 5IR is here and it's real. And 5IR is based on the principle of extreme customization and personalization. If you're a business that's just going to continue adopting a cookie cutter approach to things, you are largely redundant for the world that we live in today. And you see it in all of the types of AI tools. Like, that is my favorite thing right now, is having a look at different AI tools and this thing called multi-stacking. And it like blows my mind when you think of the opportunities. We're a country with huge unemployment rates. The opportunities that AI tools can afford our youngsters. We keep thinking the traditional approach. We keep relying on private sector. We keep leaning in, it's small businesses don't know how to manage their finances, without trying to solve in a way that is truly sustainable. So the learning for me, Pam, especially with neurodivergency, right? When a person's accent is assumed to be an indication of their intelligence. If I say to someone, give me a moment, let me just think about that. When that means that I'm slower than average, by whose standards? By whose standards? And to create that safe enough space to allow people that extra 2 minutes to process what it is that we're saying in order for them to be able to respond, versus an environment that, but she's always on the ball, she's got the answer, she'll be promoted. I think we tend to overlook people who have potential by doing that. And there's a lot of work we have to do in ourselves from a learning perspective. And for me, I found that I call it cultural intelligence. So you need to know what is your core and non-negotiables. Mine's are things like integrity, honesty, your word is your bond, and understanding what your flex is. And your flex is understanding that I may have been raised to believe that success is defined in this way, but I have to have an open mind, an open enough mind to understand that different people do things differently. So those are the things I think learning practitioners, especially those involved in design, need to open their minds towards. One, the adoption of technology, but two, understanding the importance of representation in learning methods and learning examples. So one of the things that I've done is I've actually created a virtual reality product called In My Shoes, and it's to deal with unconscious bias in the workplace. Now, at first people thought, could it work? It actually does. Because in approaching DEI and B, and I say this with full respect to practitioners who are involved in this field, in a country-specific environment, there's a lot of shame sometimes attached to it. The traditional methods about let us talk about apartheid, let us talk about our differences, rather than saying, do you know what? My point of departure is A, B, C, and D. What is yours? And this opportunity is either for us to learn something or to teach something. I'm not in competition with you. Your success is my success. And people go crazy when I say to them, there's enough sun for everyone to shine. So when it comes to things like understanding your bias, there's no shame attached to it, but understand that it influences the way you think, it influences your decision making, it influences your teamwork. So that that work that we're trying to do around unconscious bias is tested insofar as people have aha moments.
Yes.
But you cannot change everyone all of the time.
Yes.
And it's not about asking people to leave behind their history,
yes.
to leave behind their culture.
Yes.
It's about creating the awareness that says,
yeah.
I need to meet you where you are, not where I am.
Yes.
And there's no shame in that.
Sure. Mel, honestly, you are making me think now, and I think one of the questions that I have is that with everything that you've covered and everything that you've said is, how do we, because what I've found also in my circles and the people, the more I talk, to people about the subjects of inclusion and, and diversity, how do we get people either in the private sector or even in the public sector to get to a comfortable space where we actually then can talk freely about our past and what has happened and why it has actually created the society that we live in. And then how do we actually then embrace different perspectives, to your point, that, people learn differently because we've got different backgrounds, So how do we then get, our people in our society, even in our corporate spaces, to just feel comfortable to bring this on the table without feeling like one person is being attacked or, because at the end of the day is, we cannot change who we are, right, as a people, right? A black female is a black female, a white male is a white male, an Indian female is an Indian female. That's who you are as a person. But then how do we get to a point where that it is not a trigger, maybe? That's the thing, that is not a trigger for most people in our spaces.
So I think there's a few things, and everything I share with you is based on personal experience, and I'm not saying I've got it right.
Yes.
But I think for me, the first thing in our country is around legislation.
Yeah.
Where people think that the legislation is the ceiling. It's absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, they think it's the ceiling.
Yes.
It's absolutely not. It's the floor.
Yes.
So we think these targets are in here, but we can't find the right suitably qualified people.
Yes.
We're not having the right conversations.
Yeah.
It's about how do we, if there's a scarcity of skill, how do we start building that skill? Never mind you start at primary school, you still can build the skill. It's about the willingness to want to change. That to me is important. The second thing, I don't think it's ever going to be easy. People are uncomfortable.
Yes.
People are hugely uncomfortable, but are often, and this is where my faith in humanity is rooted. I often believe that resistance is not driven by hatred or prejudice. It's by insecurity and fear. And I think when you approach it in a way that says, help me understand. So I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
I posted on LinkedIn that I was an ally in relation to LGBTQ.
Yes.
IA+.
Yes.
And my thing was around, it's not about asking people to come out.
Yeah.
It's about saying, welcome in.
Yes.
In your true, authentic self.
Yes.
The hate mail I received in my
gosh.
DMs, right?
Yeah.
People direct messaged me and accused me of a whole lot of things.
Sure.
And I was like, here's my phone number.
Yes.
Let's pick up a phone and have a conversation.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into a written argument with someone.
Yes.
I want to understand what
Yes.
makes you believe that what you're saying is a reflection of who I am
Yes.
and what I'm trying to achieve. And I found that when you have the conversation in a way that's not conflict driven, I'm not here to fight with you.
Yes.
I'm not here to say I'm better than you.
Yes.
Neither am I here to say that my rights are more important than your rights.
Yes.
I truly, truly want to understand, why does this upset you so much?
Yes.
I'm not your daughter. I'm not your wife. So I don't carry your family name and I'm not going out. Do you know, those are the things. So what is it that I've done that has upset you?
Yes.
And when we start having conversations,
Yes.
I also realize how much because social media has a positive and a very negative side of things. And you have a responsibility to interrogate what you read. You have a responsibility to educate yourself. And I don't mean that in an aggressive way, but when you read something, you should be able to think, but is this true? Could this be true? And without exposing yourself to people, how would you know if it's true or not, right? because the person who shared it with you looks like you, talks like you, relates with you. And that is why my whole thing around VR being the ultimate empathy machine is because when you put someone in the shoes of the person experiencing the bias.
Just hang on.
Yeah.
You said VR.
Yeah. Sorry, virtual reality.
Yes, okay. Can you just maybe explain that to us? Because I think we've got diverse followers and listeners, and so some of the terms that we use in corporate speak or in human capital speak might not be familiar, with certain. So I really need our audience to really understand what is virtual reality.
So virtual reality operates through a headset.
Yeah.
Where it's an immersive technology.
Yes.
Right? So when you put the headset on, you are immersed in a situation where you are someone else. You adopt the persona of someone else. And you could lie on a beach somewhere. It's actually a very powerful tech tool which can be used for mental health and all sorts of things.
Yes.
What we've used virtual reality for, using the headset, is we used the lived experiences of South Africans in relation to where they've had issues around race, gender, sexuality. We scripted that.
Yes.
And when you put the headset on, it will say to you, you are Malisha, a 48-year-old Indian female. Let's take a step in your shoes. And then you're in a work situation where there could be two people talking about you. Maybe it's about your race or your gender, whatever. The power of the tool is you can choose how you respond. So I can choose to laugh it off, I can choose to walk away, or I can choose to challenge it. And depending on what you choose, the script then plays on. So what I've found is that it's the discomfort and the anxiety people feel to have conversations around race, to have conversations around the differences that make us who we are at the end of the day.
Yes.
And if in that headset you can actually go through that emotion, which is actually not that bad. Because I often ask my team members, they know I always have their back, but I want them to first try.
Yes.
And I always say, what is the absolute worst that's going to happen? Pam, you may not believe it, I'm an introvert. I failed speech right until matric. This is learned behavior.
The power of learning, yeah?
It's learned behavior because I want every little girl who grew up in Actonville to know that she could be sitting in this chair one day.
Yes.
So it's that hunger and drive to want it. But more importantly, it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
It looks easy now. But sitting out there in your foyer, I was reading, I was trying to distract myself. You learn these behaviors. It will never come naturally, for me in any case.
Yes.
And when it comes to diversity conversations, having conversations of belonging, having conversations of inclusion, it's not comfortable for people. It's not comfortable because when I braai, who is around me when I braai? And I see it in the language my children bring home from school every day. And that is why I strongly believe as parents, you have to be careful of the words that you use, the power of words. The things that get said on the school ground, the deflection on the parents. I don't blame the kids.
Yes.
But educate yourself. So when you see something on social media, don't just openly discuss it at the dinner table as it being true and valid.
Yeah.
Because your child takes that and internalizes it.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. It's not comfortable at all, Pam. I think if it's comfortable, then it's not authentic.
Yeah.
Because to have to give my number to someone who I don't know, right, didn't come easy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't just let it be.
Yeah.
I couldn't because, and it's not because I wanted to prove something. I truly wanted to understand how something that was so, I feel strongly about, because it even got to a point where I said to the person, there was a video attached to it, and I was being sarcastic, and afterwards I thought to myself, Malisha, you weren't kind to the person.
Yeah.
So I did ask forgiveness. I said to the person, there's a pause button.
Yeah.
If it's that offensive to you, don't watch it.
Yes.
You know, if it's going to cause you anxiety and upset and all of that, don't watch it. And I don't think there's a perfect solution. I think the more we have conversations like this, the more we create safe spaces for people to say, Malisha, I don't understand. You said I excluded you, but what did I say that made you feel excluded? Because I thought I spoke to everybody equally in the room.
Yeah.
So it's the whole mansplaining thing as an example, right? You don't need to repeat what I've said in a different way to get mine. I can do that on my own. But his intention may not necessarily have been malicious, right?
Yes.
So the way we care for one another, the way we think we have one another's back, it's a journey. Have the one-on-ones. I will never call out behavior in a public environment.
Yes.
Because it attaches shame. There's no corrective behavior in that. And it's hard, right? But to have the one-on-one on the side that says, you know what, dude, that was not cool. That was absolutely not cool. And please understand, the next time I will be having a different kind of conversation with you. Am I nervous when I'm saying it? Hell yes. Is my tummy twisting like crazy, right? But if I don't say it, who is going to say it?
Yeah.
And if no one raises it, how is the person going to know any different?
So how do we elevate, maybe elevate is not the right word. So just listening to you, and I'm assuming that you have maybe either rolled out this virtual reality walk in my shoes tool that you're talking about in your workspace. And, and I'm thinking about our human capital communities, in society in South Africa. There's so many of them, right? And how do we then empower, the human capital professionals in their workspaces to have the courage that you're talking about, to push the agenda of creating psychologically safe spaces in our learning environments, in our workspaces, because I think, fear cripples a lot of people, and I think it cripples also the human capital professionals, right, in their environments. And so you find that maybe, some of them, because of fear, they hold back. They want to say certain things. They don't know how to say certain things. They're afraid of the reaction that they will get by actually saying certain things, which are actually even probably the right things that will help the leaders, the people in the organization. So how do we actually then create a space for HR professionals to human capital professionals to have courage?
That's a hard question.
Let me just stop that statement. Yes.
It's how badly you want it and what's your why.
Yeah.
I'm very clear as to, I got into people and culture completely by error. So it was never something I ever knew was a career. But it's personal for me. It's highly personal for me. And the hardest thing my coach once said to me, and I struggle with this every day. She said to me, for some people, this is just a job.
Okay.
And I've often said to my team, and they roll their eyes at me, I love my family.
Yes.
But I spend more time with my team than I do with my family. We've got to make it work. Doesn't mean we have to agree on everything.
Yes.
But I find that more with junior colleagues, this is 25 years of comfort to get to this point.
Yeah.
So I also don't think it's fair to expect a younger generation to be able to fight the fight and stand up for what's true.
Yes.
I think it's through the school of hard knocks and being comfortable in myself right now.
Yeah.
That says, yes, I've been invited to a function. I'm still going to wear my sneakers.
Yes.
Not because I'm trying to prove something.
Yes.
But because when we talk authenticity, you must feel it, you must touch it, you must taste it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I feel for the younger generation, we have a responsibility to coach them. I have very vocal youngsters in my team. I have one in particular that I literally have to brace myself because I know she's going to give me a running hug. But I know that degree of courage came with some very hard life lessons. So Can we teach courage? I don't think so. I think it comes through the school of hard knocks. What I think we can do is show people or guide team members or mentor team members around how do you ask the right questions. Get yourself a sponsor. Get yourself a mentor. At my ripe old age, I still need guidance. I don't have the answers, but we can solve for it together. And that fear, I think it's sad for me that there are work environments where people are scared to lose their jobs if they say something. And where I've turned psychological safety around a little bit is in my performance reviews with my team. I gave them 5 psychological safety questions to answer in relation to our relationship. And it was actually a big learning for me because on the one hand, you could think I'm doing things right, I'm very open-minded, and I was actually, one of my team members felt very excluded. And like I didn't sleep at night thinking, how did this happen? And I think that's the thing. We don't always get it right all the time. But grant yourself the grace, because it was Maya Angelou who said, when you know better, you do better. So I think we think it's this massive thing we need to change overnight. I hope that in my generation or our generation, even if we change one person's view, it's one person more than there was yesterday that will make it a kinder society. We are unhealthily competitive. We have this view that I need to outshine you, which is BS. We have this thing that I can't lean into you. Really, on what basis? We have this thing about positional power, situational power. And I'm not saying I have it right, Pam. At all. But I think through, and I do call it the school of hard knocks. I can't own your view on me. I can't own your response to me. But if I can continue to be fair and consistent in my profession with my team members, that's where I get peace from. So one bite at a time. We don't need to grab this huge elephant and try to carry it on our back. It's really not going to work.
No, thank you so much, Mel. Thank you so much. I think we've been talking just for over 40 minutes. So I think I have 2 questions. I think the second last question that I have for you is that I'm so curious about this virtual reality learning tool that you spoke about. So what is the next step? So you've rolled this out in your organization, and I'm sure you were met with some resistance in some pockets of your organization. Can you just tell us, maybe paint the journey for us? Because the leading question to that is that how do we then elevate this tool to make it more accessible? What are your plans for this tool in the bigger scheme of things?
So within EOH, I've made it voluntary. I'm not going to force anyone to do it. Right? Because to me, I'm grateful to work for an organization that allowed me the freedom to innovate in this way. Not a lot of organizations do that. So that to me is 10 out of 10 for my company that I work for. I have made it voluntary. Most of the excos in the business have been through it. And I've actually commercialized it, Pam. So I invoiced my first customer last year.
Well,
thank you. So the plan was within a year for my team to be self-sufficient, that we pay our own bills. So it's more now having the time to be able to give it the dedication and effort it needs from a sales perspective so that I can get it out there. It is an hour and a half of my facilitation and only 20 minutes in the headset. So it's not, it's about the quality versus me trying to push numbers, because it's just not going to work. Meaningful conversations and change in large groups I find difficult. And I'm very careful that people don't get triggered. I'm very careful that we have that discussion around cultural intelligence for people to understand that core and that flex. And in terms of core and flex, I don't have to change who I am to sit around a business table with you and align ourselves to the same project.
Sure. I hope my human capital peeps, you are listening because there is something big coming out of this powerful lady over here. Malisha, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Honestly, I think I couldn't have asked, and I think I've said this like 3 times already, but I'll say it again. I couldn't have asked for a more authentic person to actually speak on this topic today. I think the difference that you make in people's lives. I think I met you, I got connected to you it's almost 2 years now. I can't remember exactly.
I think it was CHRO before COVID.
Before COVID, right? Because I just always admired, and whenever you speak in these HR community platforms, I always just look at you with such, amazement and just really so much grace that you carry, that you can talk about these difficult topics in such a constructive manner, so there's a lot that some of us and the younger generation have to learn, and I'm really actually giving you a challenge right now, because I'm like literally putting you on the spot to actually to bring more of you to these platforms, especially this virtual reality tool that you are talking about. Because I'm highlighting this. I've got a daughter who's just entered corporate about 2 years ago. She's 25 years old. And sometimes I listen to her stories and the things that she says and some of her challenges, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I think we need to talk more and more to the younger generation, to the young professionals, and how do we actually help them, to overcome some of these challenges, and using technology, to do that, because they are big on social media, these guys, right? They are big on technology. So let us then leverage, the platforms that they are familiar with, that they find interesting, to bring the abstract concepts that you talk about in the space of diversity and inclusion, especially in the learning environments. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for always supporting us.
Always.
And you actually make me think of the time when I phoned you. I think it was about almost a year ago this time, I think, where I said, Malisha, I'm out of this environment. I need to do something different with my time. I want to do 1, 2, 3. Can you come on board? And remember what you said. You said, only because it is you, I will help you. Thank you for that.
Anytime.
Indeed, we have come full circle.
We have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
It's a true story. So thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. You have been listening to episode 10 of the Diversity Roundtable, which is our 3rd episode for 2024. We're moving on. We're going strong. So thank you for bracing us with your presence. We appreciate you and we love you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.